right. So welcome everybody. Yeah, you can switch on your video if you want to, so that we can see your face. We can put the face to a name, right? So, so again, thank you for joining us. So this is actually a let me see. Which week are we in? I think we are in week
This
13.
is week
All
13
right.
already now.
Yeah, amazing. So we have actually been doing this for 13 weeks now, as part of our, as why we are talking about volunteering and exercising and mental health. All these are actually part of under our roof, which is a FIT unit and a PRKPP, to have a more well-informed community and educate as a platform to educate and people to speak up. So we sometimes feature different guest speakers. Please do approach us if you have any interesting topics to talk about. So we cover from mental health to fitness to fitness and physical. We have also activities. I think during this whole lockdown and pandemic, we want to support each other in terms of as a support system, as a community, right? So not just and fill our weekends with a bit of knowledge. Okay, just an hour of chat. Okay, so today's topic is very interesting. So Prof will take Prof Muhammad will take it from there. To next topic, personality traits and disorders. So last week we had psychological trauma. Okay, so this one will be like a good, I guess, a sequel or follow up from there. And I hope that everybody will stay tuned. And if you have any questions, please do type in the chat box. And just to let me know or let us know if you are in the room, please do type 1 on the chat box so that I know that you're here and you are present and listening. Can everybody type 1 in the chat box? Thank you, Nohani. Okay, Nareen Shafika, great. Okay, just type 1 in the chat box. This chat box also you can ask questions, all right? So we will try to address them. Thank you, Muhammad Shalihan. All right. Yep, so there's a chat box feature. You can also react with a thumbs up, with a smile, with a love. Okay, so there's a lot of features on Zoom. And you can also play around with different backgrounds like mine. So that's not my real living room photo. So that's a background. You can play around with it. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for responding. Great. So Prof, please go ahead with your topic, personality traits and disorders. Prof Muhammad.
Okay, thank you, Felicia. Good evening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Hope all of you are in harmony and in peace with yourself and the environment. So today's topic is very important topic because when we reach our adulthood, our personality has settled in, and actually we need to know who we are, what kind of traits that we are using, and at the end of the day, are we having trouble with our personality? So just let me share with you my slides on personality. Okay. So basically, when we talk about personality, we talk about our behavior to start with. All right. But on top of that, psychology, we have our thoughts, we have our feelings and our behavior. In definition wise, personality is about actually how we show ourselves to others through our behavior, and our behavior obviously come from our thoughts and our emotion, and that's why it is being portrayed in our so-called everyday behavior. So when we talk about personality traits, where did you get it? So obviously there is an element of heritability or genetic element, especially with regard to formation of attitudes. But actually very substantial portion is actually through the learning, through the environment, through the experiences that we had since our young age until we reach adolescence, And when we really put ourselves into what kind of a trait that we want to portray, what kind of so-called characteristic that we want to show to others, then it become more and more so-called settled in us, well ingrained, and become more and more stable. So that is what it is all about, our personality. So to go into it, I'm showing you these so-called positive personality traits from A to Z. So you can see, maybe you can just run through looking at these slides. What do you have from A list to B to C to D and whatnot. So we hope that you have a lot of these positive traits, which actually at the end of the day make up who you are. And here I would say the most important is that at least for A, I want you to be very active, adaptable, and agreeable, so that at the end of the day you can fit very well with the environment that you are in. And then very balanced person, very calm and care and charismatic and charming and cheerful and confident. So you can see there are various traits that you should be actually harness and trying to be part of you as a character that you have. Yeah. So then you can go along this list, the whole list. If you can actually just, if you have all these, you can just simply tick it now or tick it later, as this will be recorded, and then you see where what you have, and as compared to the negative traits. Yeah, these are the negative traits. So between the positive traits and the negative traits, then you can look at how many of these traits that you have. So again and again, trait is what you have a tendency to show. Usually traits only come when there is a particular stimulus that will actually encourage this trait to come out. So example, if you're caring, then you got a stimulus in front of you where you see people in need, people need your help kind of a thing, then you show your care and things like that. So usually traits can be, we can have a positive traits, we can have a negative traits, and it all depends on how the stimulus or the stress or the stressor that comes forward to us, and then we use what kind of a trait. Sometimes at times we will, if the stimulus is good to us, we use all the positive traits, but sometimes if we believe the stimulus is rather against us, then we might use the negative traits. And as I said, in all these positive and negative traits, there will always be the opposite of it with us. So sometimes we tend to use more of what we have according to the situation that we are in. So again, as I said, if you can take it yourself later, if you don't understand some of the terms, you can look it up. What does it mean, or what kind of example it give you, and then see how actually you're having, and then you can make a balance between the two. How many is your positive trait as compared to your negative traits? Because knowing all these traits, only then it makes you able to be aware, and subsequently this is where your reflection can come in every day. So that example, like within half morning, let's say, or within parts of the morning, you can sit down and reflect for a while and see what kind of a trait that we have been using. If the trait is good, then we can continue doing it for the other half of the morning, or later in the days, then we keep enhancing it. If we realize that we have been using that negative traits with us within that part of the time, then later, possibly upon reflection, we will try to avoid using it again, because if it is continuously using it, obviously we are ending up become so-called our own habits and our own characteristic, which at the end of the day determine our destiny, because of that habit, and it makes our attitude. So attitude comes from the traits or the behavior that we do again and again and again. So first and foremost, there are many ways of looking and understanding our personality. Here is one of the way. We call it the big five personality traits, which cover, they call it in a acronym wise, ocean. We started with openness, a person who is open, and then a person who is conscientious, a person who is actually extrovert, a person who is actually agreeable, and a person who can be neuroticism or neurotic. And here, what it means is that, okay, in this personality again, just to show you that These are the major category of the personality, which we call it Ocean, OCEAN. And actually, you can go into internet. There is a lot of free site for your own testing with this so-called Big Five personality traits. You can look at yourself in terms of your degree of openness, degree of conscientiousness, degree of extroversion, degree of agreeableness, and degree of neuroticism. And quite a number of the tests are good enough because they give you the analysis in detail. So it is very important, and it is actually very free for you to use, and so that you can know who you are. So what is mean here? If you're talking about the big five trait openness, you actually basically enjoy seeing people. It doesn't matter what are the things that is there with the person, you just accept it very well. You are very imaginative and you're very non-traditional, non-conventional. You are actually easy to move up with a situation, with so-called advancement and whatnot. So that is what openness is all about. If you're a conscientious person, obviously you're very organized, very hardworking, very self-disciplined. You keep to your time. So a person who is very conscientious will actually very organized, well planned, having good so-called purpose of doing things. Yeah. And then a person who's extrovert or being able to actually socialize, fun-loving, affectionate, optimistic, a person who actually goes out with people uh, around him or her very well. And agreeableness is about actually able to accept people's opinion. A very good natured person can be very helpful, can be very forgiving. All right, but neuroticism is the opposite of all this, whereby you easily tends to become insecure, you worries constantly. You may have a tendency, if you use the word hypochondriacal, mean you over exaggerate your features or symptom that you have, thinking that it is an illness situation kind of a thing. Or you can also feel inadequate in yourself. So again, the adjective that we can use for all these dimensions. So a person who's extrovert, active, assertive, enthusiastic, talkative, energetic, a person who is agreeable, appreciative, forgiving, generous, kind, and trusting. A conscientious person is efficient, organized, reliable, and all those that is mentioned there. Neuroticism, very anxious or self-pity. Again, they look at themselves more, become worried and anxiety, easily tense. And open is a openness person who is very curious, very imaginative, show a lot of interest and very artistic in nature. So there's another way to look at this. This so-called diagram is very easily to understand. When you look at the conscientiousness, you can see the element of easygoing, careless person, and at the end, top end, you are efficient and organized person. So you have a tendency to be organized, and people can depend upon you. If you're an open person, obviously you have a tendency to be a cautious person, maybe consistent, imaginative, inventive, and curious kind of a nature. So you are using a lot of intellectual ability, curiosity, creativity. All right, and if you're extrovert, obviously it's about your socialization. To this end, you can become reserved, but actually you are outgoing and energetic on the other end. Agreeableness together too is talking about you're being friendly and compassionate, and but if you're not agreeable, you can be very detached and be very challenging. Similarly, with neuroticism, you're predisposed to psychological distress or stress in nature. So you may become a very sensitive person, a nervous person, but if you can overcome or your level of neuroticism is low, you become a secure and confident person. So this table can give you a very good understanding of what it is all about, or this so-called diagram. So that is one, the big five. As I said, you can use that to look at yourself, whether which part that you are strong. So they give you all a line of question with situation scenarios, and you answers that question according to the Likert scale on very true and to the very untrue kind of a situation. Then you will get to know where are you in this ocean big five kind of personality traits. There's another way to look at yourself in terms of personality type. Some people are type A personality. These are the goal-oriented person, risk-taking person, and type A person always be able to handle stress very well. So they are what we call like the director kind of characteristic. Then we have the type B person, the sociable person. Usually is easygoing, relationship oriented, and very enthusiastic. So the type C are the thinker, very detailed, think logically, prepared everything very well. And type D is a person who actually could be, can't really see this side. Okay, let me see if I can bring it down. Okay, the supporter. Type B is a socializer, and type D is a supporter. And then you have what we call the type X. This combine the two or more personality type when they are equal in nature. So you know that type A is self-driven, it's very competitive, it's achievers and risk-takers. And type B are very charismatic, easygoing, not easily stressed, lacking a sense of urgency. So between the two, type A and type B, some people describe this meaning of what we call meet in between type A and B. So they have both. They can be very competitive, they can be self-driven achiever, but on top of that, they know also how to be easygoing, not easily stressed. They don't really sense of urgency is really there, so they can take their time to actually deal with the situation. And type C obviously is the loner, lone worker, rather an introvert kind of a person who actually very much a detailed person, a perfectionist, and obviously when you are obsessive or perfectionist, you have a tendency to be stressed. So these are the common type A trait, as you say. They can be impatient. They can also be very competitive. They are very obsessed with work and trying to complete the work. So with that obsessive tendency, obviously they are very hardworking. They're achievement oriented, but they can also be very aggressive, and sometimes they can end up having stress, even though they are actually always on top of the stress, but they can be very stressful when it is going beyond their ability to cope. And type B is an easygoing personality, emotional, flexible, relaxed, expressive, laid back attitude. But having too much of type B, obviously, you might not actually complete whatever the task you're supposed to do. So you have to make sure that you cannot be at the extreme of type B where nothing is going, nothing get done. So just if you know who you are, just trying to bring you to the level where actually you can still be easygoing, still be flexible, but the demand upon you in terms of work, in terms of whatever the issue that you need is to be done, you can get it done. Yeah. But obviously you will never easily get this stress as much. This is the difference between just a picture different about what type A is, who is quite stressed, higher stress level. Type B is usually at the lower stress level kind of a situation or person. In terms of dieting struggle, obviously you can see between the type A and the type B. So this is very important. I think Felicia will agree with us with regard to in type A to struggle. Their struggle with regard to dieting is that they are not flexible. So to be flexible, it is quite a challenge to them. And if they are not really in control, they become easily anxious. Have what we call all or nothing mindset, and they are driven by progress. But actually, type A can easily success in whatever that they want to do. So they are achievement oriented. So if they really want to go for this diet, obviously it will be easy for them. All right, and they also based on deadline and whatnot. As type B, obviously they are more relaxed, easygoing. They are patient in that sense, and they are procrastinator. Obviously, if you're trying to get yourself to be dieting, the problem with you who are actually type B is to maintain consistency or to maintain doing it again and again for a period of time. It could be a big problem here. All right, and when people add more challenge, you become more anxious too. Despite you are, yeah, basically are driven by feeling, but not by your so-called thinking or your thoughts. So type C is about a person who is actually emotionally repressed. In this sense, I mean, they are not really expressing themselves very well, and quite a number of people were actually unassertive. They were not able to say no when it is supposed to be no. They're not able to say yes when it is supposed to be yes. They just follow what people want them to do. So they being unassertive, they can easily succumb to illness, succumb to anxiety, and feeling that they are not being considered very well. But they are very consistent and dependable in nature. And type D is a distressed person who actually have a pessimistic look, worries easily, always have negative self-talk, lack of self-confidence, feeling sadness, gloominess, hopeless, and fear of rejection. So this is another way of looking at your personality types and personality traits. They call it by type A, type B, type C, and type D. So obviously type D, they have a tendency to have negative emotion. They cannot express their emotion very well. They have problem in socializing and socialization, easily feeling unhappiness, worries, irritable, low self-esteem, and they usually distance themselves from people, and they tend to be alone. So these four characteristics common in type D personalities, obviously they easily demoralize, become hopeless, they become pessimist, they ruminate about all this, the weak thing that they are, the inadequacy that they have. They tend to keep in thoughts, and that's where we call it, the recurrent thoughts are all negative in nature, and it become overwhelmed to them. And usually they end up in stress, increase a chance of having heart disease, right? So now we have this type A, type B, type C, type D, and type X. So here again, it's a very self-explanatory slide. Type A are self-driven, competitive. Type B are intuitive and charismatic. Type B person usually use their feeling in their heart. Type A use their thinking, their mind, their brain. Right? Type C are curious and bright. Type D are self-motivated and positive. Type C is very artistic and imaginative. There's another way of looking at your personality. They call it DISC, D-I-S-C. So D stand for dominance, I stand for influence, S stand for steadiness, and C stands for compliance. So obviously, again, it appears to be similar to what we see in the type A, B, C, D too. All right, and that you can see the dominant person or very ambitious, strong will, right? The influence person, he able to be persuasive. The steady person appears to be actually loyal, relaxed in nature, but not really assertive. So can be very a passive person, but they can also be a very flexible one. Here they give all the names of the actors or actresses who are having this kind of personality. Compliance, you have a detailed person, so detail-oriented, conventional person, very exacting. So there's another way. So this is give you a detail of what this is all about. For D, obviously, is fast-paced, outspoken person, questioning and not easily accept everything. So they are quite skeptical. For I, the influencer, they are fast-paced and outspoken, but they are accepting and very warm. For S, they are cautious and reflective, and they are accepting still and very warm. And for C, they are actually cautious and reflective. They question and quite skeptical. So if you have the four quadrant, you can see the upper level and the horizontal level, which can be shown here. Yeah, this is this quadrant. So if you are the DISC type, you can look at the quadrant top. The vertical line is the outgoing, and the lowest is the reserve person, and the horizontal line is on the positive side is the people oriented, and on the negative side, not to say negative, but you are more detail oriented. So if you're the type D, you talk about let's get to the point, means you doesn't go around beating around the bush, you go straight to the point. The type A, you actually negotiate with people and you say, come, let's talk about it, let's discuss it out, things like that. If you are S type, let's not upset anybody. So you actually don't like to step on people's toes. You don't like to exert yourself very much. So they goes on the level of between the line of midpoint to reserve person. So you are in the S will be on this lower level. And type C is obviously you tend to actually hear more first. You're quite, you give time, you give chance, you want to explore for more before you make any kind of a conclusion. So D is the dominant. Usually you may end up become a CEO or manager or military leader or even a politician because of that dominancy tendency. Or you're the influencer. Obviously, you can become a manager too. You have become a TV anchor, reporter, musician, and you can influence people around you. And subsequently, you are a steady person. You can become this mental health professional, or health professional, religious worker, writer. So you are a steady person. And conscientious type is basically you are a very detailed person. You can end up become a judge, a banker, an engineer, or even I would say, many other profession that actually mimics all these kind of characteristics. So this is again just another explanation. What happened to this personality, the ISC person, who are under pressure? So obviously, when you are a dominant person, you can become very impatient, right? Because you are very, how should I say, you see black and white very clearly, you see right and wrong very clearly. So you are not the gray person, you are not people playing in between situation, obviously. So you are easily become under pressure if you are not able to actually dictate the situation. People go for what they call the gray area. You don't like it, and so obviously become pressure to you. Obviously, you can actually take charge. Sometimes you cannot be below the authority. You must be the authority person yourself. Because if you are under someone, you doesn't actually seek permission from your authority. So you have the tendency to do things yourself. Over delegate or over direct. So sometimes because you are so dominant, you tend to actually take charge, take control, become domineering, and people become feel a little bit uncomfortable with your way of doing things. You can be very insensitive, very undiplomatic. You doesn't really listen well. These are when tasks are getting pressure, they are getting more and more things to do. Very difficult to actually talk to you, the person with a D style kind of personality. Yeah, and you have a very tunnel vision. I mean, once you see it that way, you see it that way. You cannot open yourself anymore. And you're impulsive. Obviously, if you're under pressure, you have a tendency to be impulsive. You have a tendency to be unrealistic, right? Even less interested in detail. You become unorganized and overly trusting, and you doesn't listen well. When you are C, obviously, when you're under pressure, you hesitate to act, you are not too sure, get stuck in the system and the set ways of doing things. You cannot change yourself, you cannot move forward because you are stuck with the old ways. You does not care, you does not dare to take risks, you cannot express yourself. So these people, when they are in this situation, pressured situation, if they are showing all this, that means they are using this C kind of a style. Or S, that means you have a tendency to actually reflect, you have a tendency to actually be who you are, remain status quo, uh, resist any change, hesitate to actually be in a change environment. You are quite slow. If you don't have a clear direction, you are not actually going to respond. Instead, you are delegating to people, right? You internalize, your feeling, you get internalized. You may feel bad if a thing doesn't get out. You lean on others, you're inexpressive and whatnot. So these are the situation whereby your so-called personality characters is very important. And the last one I would like to actually talk to you with regard to this so-called personality trait is the one with regard to actually this element of introversion or extroversion is your energy, information with regard to whether you are the sensing person or the intuition person, with regard to decision, whether you are the thinking or the feeling person. With regard to organization, you are the judging or perceiving patient or person. So obviously, energy-wise, obviously, in terms of the social kind of situation where your energy Being alone or in small group is where you are introvert in nature, but extroversion has a very high energy with people around them. Whereby intuition is about actually you use your inner sense, the so-called the gut feeling, sensing you are the realist. You see the sense of things around you, so you focus on facts and detail. Decision making, you actually either use your thinking or your feeling. So for a thinker, obviously they look for logical and analytical decision making. They value fairness, and they usually look for flaws. They are quite critical, they are quite argumentative, but they are also level-headed. While the feeling based on decision, based on personal value, so they are more of what we call the emotional kind of a person. Organization is a person who can judge using rules, using structure. They prefer clear structure, clear instruction. Perceiving is actually they use their so-called intuition. So if you have any of this combination, we call it actually the personality profile, 16 personality profile. So basically, these are the diagrams showing who they are. Example, if you're introvert, you end up actually doing things on your own. You don't like people to disturb you. Here, you're looking at the chef who doesn't like to be disturbed by others, so he do his thing. The extroverted, obviously, you can see how he's happy with people around him. The intuition person is actually, using his so-called method to look for things according to his gut feeling. The sensing will try to look for sense around them to understand. The thinking person who think first before they do anything. The judge, the feeling, and the perceiving person. So here, give you a very good picture, some idea where you are. So here is what I call the 16 personality profile of Mayer Briggs. So you can be either, again, any one of it. All right. As I said, you can be either a combination of extrovert. If you can see at the lower eight kind of item, you see with the beginning of E for the third row and the fourth row. So that is the extrovert person with a combination of either sensing, with a combination and thinking, and with a combination of judging or perceiving. So then it describes who you are based on all this. And you can actually do this test also in a free test. Here we got maybe a personality test 1, 2, 3. You can use. You can end up knowing where you are and who you are, and they can actually tell you what kind of character. If you, this is for working actually, if you're supposed to be placed as a manager, we see whether do you have a tendency to be a manager. If there's a place for you to be a judge, a place for you to be a guardian, a place for you to be a consul. So this test will tell you who you are. And I did my test for this and also for the big five. Then we know actually it is very true. Actually, it's quite true what they have described. So they have actually done very extensive studies. So if you are interested, I can share with you the link. I think if you just key in the keyword Mayor Briggs and Big Five personality, you may be able to get to do the test. Now we go for another characteristic that determine your personality, the blood type. So if you're a blood type O, I am type O kind of a person. So these are the features which I would say is agreeable to me. Is quite, again, fitting me very well, I hope. But this is not the way I see it. People also must actually agree if they see me and they know who I am. So a type O person are responsible, practical, strategic, organized, determined, decisive, objective, success-oriented, logical. Then we have the type A. These are the features: kind, compassionate, sensitive, curious, loyal, calm, idealistic, deep, and committed. Type B, blood type B, friendly, outgoing, energetic, expressive, curious, creative, imaginative, independent, spontaneous. And type A, B, independent, outgoing, spontaneous, energetic, fun-loving, quick, adaptable, creative problem solver. So basically, what they are, type O, you want to be a leader, and when you see something you want, you keep striving until you achieve your goal. You are trendsetter, you are passionate, you are loyal, you are confident. So they may describe you, and you see whether this is very true or not. Because obviously this blood type is already with us, we cannot change it. Type A person, harmonious, peaceful, organized, work with others, very sensitive, very affectionate. Type B are very rugged individual, who are rather very blunt and straightforward, but quite a creative and flexible person too. And type AB is cool, control, and all those features that is mentioned here. And I believe later you can go through again this slide to understand who you are, where you are. So basically that is about personality traits. So there are many ways of looking at it. But these are the common one that has been accepted very easily. So when we talk about personality trait, that is how at the end of the day, they somehow create you to become a personality character. And what we want is actually when we say a normal personality, someone is very adaptable, someone is actually at the end of the day, his behavior is fitting very well to the community. He's actually functioning very well. He's actually contributing to the community besides contributing to himself, and he feel good, and he what we call social integration very well with the community. So that is what personality is all about. But unfortunately, some group of people have what we call a personality disorder, or when the, the normal personality is no more with them. So again, usually when we talk about personality disorder, mainly is about behavior, and the behavior mainly is about relationship with people around them. So here we got the type cluster personality disorder, cluster A, cluster B, or cluster C. Cluster A is the one that is actually, we can see very clearly, there are the odd one, the bizarre one, and the eccentric one. Uh, Actually, we know about this group of people, quite a number of them. Those who are actually on their own, introvert in nature, they call it schizoid. Example, like a lot of artists, a lot of musicians, but they have these so-called oddities or eccentricities, but they may end up unwell in that sense of become mad, or they actually may not, but they become socially isolated. And then the B cluster is the one with dramatic or erratic nature kind of person, and the C cluster are the one who become anxious and fearful, and later they end up with depression. Here is how we also can actually cluster them. Cluster A, the paranoid, the schizo people, we call the mad person cluster, whereby at the end of the day, when they become adulthood, they may end up to become a psychotic person. Whereby cluster B, these are the four group of people: the borderline, the narcissistic, the histrionic, the antisocial. They are usually grouped as a bad person, because whoever that is actually with this group of personality, actually they create feeling of badness toward all these people around them. And cluster C, they end up become a depressed person, sad person, anxiety person. So these are the avoidant personality, dependent personality, and the obsessive compulsive personality. All actually in the so-called prevalence of a lifetime is 1 to 2%, except for narcissistic, there's quite a high number. Obsessive compulsive is also between 4 to 5%. And cluster A total is about 1 to 2% too. Again here, just to show you what they are. Cluster A, cluster trait usually have avoidant, rigid, and impairment of reality testing. They are in fantasy, they are in odd kind of thinking. Cluster B, they are again antisocial attitude, rather impulsive, and not able to regulate their emotion very well. Cluster C, they are very preoccupied and become anxious. They sometimes tend to avoid, and they end up with sometimes depression. Right, so again, another way of looking at it: cluster A, cluster B, cluster C, and there is another cluster of personality, whereby one is due to medical condition, another one is other specified personality, which include passive aggressive personality and whatnot, and the unspecified, which is not able to determine clearly what they are. So this is just a graphic way of explaining who are the paranoid person. They are usually person who doesn't trust anyone, accusatory nature. They assume that others will disappoint them. The others want to manipulate them. The others are talking behind the back. They are distrustful. They are suspicious. They react severely if they feel they have been lied to or slighted. Right? They ensure loyalty of friends and family. So these are the paranoid group of person. The schizo people, the awkward one, they have magical thinking, right? Left side, usually their thoughts are rather very childish, very fantasy and things like that. And then the schizoid, you can know, if you can remember these acronyms, SAFE. So the schizoid personality tends to have a solitary lifestyle. They don't even feel good, or they don't feel anything if somebody praise or criticize them. They have no interest in relationship, no interest in sexual experience, no interest in activity. They're lacking friend. They are quite cold and detached. When you go to cluster B, obviously these are the four groups, as I said: antisocial, borderline, histrionic. Genetic relationship is with mood disorder, depression, or bipolar, and they may end up with actually substance abuse. So they have a tendency to also end up with this serious condition. Here is another picture of it. The antisocial is, you see, they're holding a knife. The borderline is easily feeling threatened with his self-image. The histrionic tends to be dramatic and showing off. The narcissistic is tend to be self-important. Right? The antisocial personality, this is the way previously people describe either they are psychopathic or sociopathic behavior. Psychopathic behavior means they already have a diagnosis of a mental disorder, but sociopathic, they don't have any mental disorder, but socially they are actually having trouble as an antisocial personality. So they are usually impulsive, deceptive, violent, ruthless, callous. They don't care about what they have done. So they only have their own self as most important. Here you can see again, they are rather egocentric, erratic, or evil, envious, escapees. They can be also be extrovert in a way, but extravagant, and all these are the features of what we call the personality that you can have. For the that one is the antisocial personality features. These are the borderline personality. Have a distorted self-image, mood swing, unstable relationship, fear of abandonment, impulsive self-injury, risky behavior, feeling of emptiness, suicidal threats, suspiciousness, inappropriate anger, and self-control. And they usually come for treatment, but it's not easy to help them. The narcissistic, obviously, as you can see, they want people to actually kowtow to them, respect them highly and whatnot. They are the boss. And this is histrionic. Obviously, if you can remember, I crave seen as a mnemonic. So I means inappropriate behavior, seductive, provocative. C for they want to be in the center of attention. Relationship seems to be closer, but people are not really close to them. Appearance, they're very focused on their appearance. They are vulnerable to people's suggestion. They are emotionally exaggerated. They have a lot of shifting emotion. They're quite shallow in their emotion. The impressionists, they are actually trying to get people's attention, and they crave for novelty. An obsessive person, obviously, they are very orderly, perfectionist, complete control. They have strict rules, details, and schedules. Dependent, obviously, remember this word or this so-called acronym, done, hurt. They easily see difficult to express their disagreement. They need excessive advice. They cannot think for themselves. They're responsible for major. They delegate to others to actually do things for them. They seek excessive nurture from others. They're helpless when alone. They're unrealistic, preoccupied by being left to care for themselves. They cannot be left alone. The relationship are desperately sought to get someone to give attention, and they have difficulty to start their own tasks or doing their own project. Avoidant personality, so remember ridicule, they restrain within relation. They don't want to be with people. They inhibited their real interpersonal situation. They disapproval make them become so worked out, inadequate. They view themselves rather inadequately. They don't like people to critique them, unwilling to get involved, they long for attachment to others, but somehow they cannot get close to people. Embarrassment is a feared emotion. They are afraid to be embarrassed. So personality disorder, basically, this is the thing that maybe you can remember easily. When somebody is avoidant, the shy one. When somebody is schizoid, the loner. When somebody is histrionic, the center of attention. When somebody is narcissistic, they love themselves. When somebody is borderline, the chaotic relationship. When somebody is dependent, they need. And somebody is antisocial, they manipulate. So these are all possible for us to understand easily, even though this topic, this subject is actually very difficult to differentiate between each and every one. So that is all. So I will stop my sharing, and then we can actually discuss. Sorry, I would take a bit long here because there are quite a number of slides actually to show you.
Great. Thanks, Prof, for the insight. It's definitely a good to know to identify yourself. I think in how do we function in workplace, and also the how to, I actually posted in a chat box
Mm,
how to test your big five. So it's a free. I think we can also test ourselves. Where are we and how do we improve, and also help us to identify, and also if you're working in a team especially. So I really like that this personality thing as well, DISC. Yeah, that one would be definitely uh so that I think everybody, no man is an island, so we learn how to work together. So by understanding each other, so we can adapt to each other rather than like thinking, I'm right and then you're wrong. So having a dominant personality as opposed to a personality that's more not of a risk taker. I think in different situation it works very well. So we use each other's strength rather than see it as a weakness.
yeah. In fact, it's what we call as a reminder to us because obviously when it is a personality issue, we don't even realize it is a faulty one. We accept it as though it is normal to us. So that's
Mhm.
why when you have all those negative personality traits, you don't realize it is negative to you, despite
Mm,
people around you are not feeling good about it, because you accept that as your norms, as yourself, a normal nature.
mm.
So it's good to allow people to actually keep check on you sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's very important if let's say you would sometimes we may not be able to even identify ourselves or and we can, yeah, definitely ask a few questions to people who is close to us, who knows us. What do they think of you in certain way? And yeah, and be open to receiving feedbacks. So it's part of your self-reflection as well. As long as we are taking it in a positive way or in a constructive way, I think yeah, if it helps us to be a better leader or better individual, why not?
True, very true. Because with knowing it, only then we can make a better improvement,
Mm,
harnessing our potential and reducing our threats and our so-called weaknesses.
mm. But back to your first slide, I think you mentioned all the good qualities, good or
Good
positive
traits.
personality, good traits, right?
Yeah,
So if let's say we do have bad, of course everybody has good and bad traits, Um, how does one balance it out? I mean, how does one, like, if let's say you know that you have certain bad traits, do you work on those, or you just uh yeah, how do you be mindful of when you know that you're off balance?
yeah. Let's say you have a negative trait, and that is based on the stimulus that come in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So you must be actually mindful about that, the trait that you're using. Example, you are easily angry, you are easily irritable, because if that is commonly used as a being what we call a defensive person, will easily get to be defensive.
Mm,
So whatever the stimulus there is, you must then try to actually, the first way to manage that is actually either you move away from the stimulus, not to react on it first, because again, as I said, You need that mindful means you need a time out kind of a situation. You sure that you want to react that way, but mindfully you now know how to prevent yourself to remain calm and not to respond. Because once you have using your negative trait, it could be very difficult to undo it. The complication of actually doing it can be very serious.
Yep.
Usually, always remember when you tend to get to people, always remember this. You is as though like you hit a nail on the wall. Even though later you pull out the nail, the wall is still having the actually the effect of the nailing part of it. So that's why, as Malay proverb says, telajak perahu boleh diundur, telajak kata, huruf
Yeah.
padanya. So
I
that
was
kind of
just
thing.
I was just about to say that when you have certain words that is really expressed, maybe in terms of anger or in a very impulsive manner, it could be sometimes very damaging
It is.
to the fact that it damages relationships or even yourself
Yeah.
physically and mentally. So yeah, so definitely those are the things that we have to be very cautious about.
The motive of actually getting into the situation is actually sometimes because we felt threatened. We want to preserve ourselves. That's why we want to win the discussion. We want to win the argument. We want to be at the upper hand, thinking that no, I'm much better than you are, kind of a thing. So that's why we go overboard. This
Mm,
is the situation. Winning, they call it what? Winning a particular argument doesn't mean you win totally.
mm.
Like there's also Malay proverb last time. Is that menang sorak tapi tergadai kampung or something like that? Uh, yeah, I think Francis will know that proverb, right?
Yeah, in sales, you win the argument, you lose the sales.
You use the sale, yeah,
Mm.
just for the sake of argument, you win. Yeah, yeah, nobody buys it.
Uh,
Yeah, like in a war, nothing good when it will happen. Yang menang, they say what jadi arang, yang kalah jadi abu, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it
Mm.
is when you hit with a conflict, nothing good from it happens. When better to be mindful and try to resolve it in a more civil manner. I think.
True, very true.
yeah, but the thing
So it,
here's the key. You see,
yeah, yeah,
the
Francis.
person who have this negative trait, including myself, sometimes we also not aware of it, you see, But after Prof already explained, at least I know, oh, there's something like that. So now I go and check back on the equation, the traits of positive and negative. Then because I understand this, it becomes softer for me to open up.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Then also I learned a lot of things today. If somebody in front of me doesn't talk to my tone, then I can understand. Maybe we just like the election, U.S. election, the winner say we are opponent, we are not enemies.
Yeah, yeah, true.
So
Even
I
when
think
you oppose me, you're
this
still my friend.
yeah, you're right. This actually opened up for many of us who I think in fact it's recorded so everybody can share. So it will help a lot of people. So only thing I want to ask Prof, one or two questions. First
Yeah,
of all,
sure.
if let's say we have a dominant in certain traits that is not to our advantage. Now we want to change it. Can it be done?
Yes, yes. I think the
What
most
is your role
important.
as a psychiatrist? How can you help us in that way?
Okay. First and foremost, I think when you feel something is not right, we call it. You start to feel ego dystonic. That means you it doesn't match with your ego self. Then you come forward for help. When you come forward for help, then it is easy because you already realize, you already accept, and you want to change. So our present will be easy to assist you to change. And
Okay.
the most important is you need to have us to totally submit to us to help you to change. There are also sometimes you have all these three elements yourself, but you don't trust the person who can help you to change.
Yeah.
So if you know that your dominance or whatever that trait that you are using doesn't bring adaptive kind of a response, adaptive means everything turns out to be okay, everything turns out to be comfortable, to be harmonious, to be at peace with people around, with yourself. That is called adaptive outcome. But if it end up with having quarrel, it end up with not you are getting into your trouble yourself, then it is maladaptive outcome. So you better look at what was the thing that you use, the trait that you use that could actually end up maladaptive. And because of that, this is called realization. This is called, after doing self-reflection, you know that you need to make that change, then you come forward. And we can assist you. Actually, we can try out with a role model situation. We can put you into the situation whereby we test your level of tolerance, your level of listening, your level of not to feel threatened. We have role model, we have group therapy, we have insight therapy, we have, in fact, beginning what I'm doing right now is called psychoeducation. I'm educating you psychologically. I'm educating all the audience how psychology looks at those things.
Yeah,
So is educating you and whatnot. So there are many approach, many
yeah.
ways of looking at it.
I think this is very important because we are everyday life in reality we face with people around us in in a working environment, and the worst scenario is in a family environment when husband and wife they are directly opposite to each other with different traits.
Yes,
So
true.
how
Very true.
what is your advice to overcome this problem before they get into other more serious relationship problem?
So basically, in marriage is a test of tolerance. Marriage is actually to see how tolerant you are with the other partner. When two-person meet, obviously there is two personality, and two personality can be so opposite, can be so different because they come from different background, different learning, different education, different everything, different person. So that's where when you want to be together for life, or even as a courtship, in any form of that relationship, you must learn how to give and take, accept. So if you realize somebody is actually on the, as you know, the hot side, the fiery side, so you are actually the coolant side. So you cool them thing down, and that's when actually you can actually meet eye to eye and talk about things.
Proactive, that's what you mean, right?
Yeah, 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 true.
Sometimes they just now I just go through a Facebook. They were talking about the RIP thing. You see, whether you are reactive, inactive, or proactive.
Okay.
So I think here it applies a little bit of that issue, so that we don't go logger-headed. We can play some tai chi with the understanding that that is a manifestation of a defective personality trait, right? So
Yes,
we can
yes,
more softer to accept it. So
true.
this is very good. So I would like to suggest that if we can come up with this kind of so-called a retreat, a
Yeah,
half-day
yeah,
retreat on identifying. You see, you can have the link, the big file, or whatever it is, but definitely there must be a personal soft touch. You see, there must be
yeah,
somebody who a guru there to really, to face to get connected. You see, that is the most important thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
Again, after knowing, then we have to do intervention. Just knowing, not doing it, it will be there. It will end up again. We forgot about it. We lost what we have noted before. So it will go back to the same old person. So
yeah,
that is the main problem. That's why we say we always talk the talk, but we forgot about to walk the talk.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Okay.
think that those are really
Floor,
great questions and answers. Yeah.
anybody ask any questions from the floor?
I saw Dr. Shekhar left earlier, but he mentioned that nice topic and excellent presentation. So he has another important event. So to hope to see you in the next talk. And yeah,
Some
Muhammad
questions here.
just asked, can we believe in online psychological tests?
Okay. Basically, online psychological test is again is a screening tools.
Mm,
It just help to understand to screen what do we have. So if you believe in the sense that when people give the analysis and you say that, wow, it is like 70-80%, that is really true about me. That
mm,
means something is really there that you can use.
mm.
But if somebody says, example, like maybe when you look at horoscope for the day, and then they were describing, so that might not actually fit very well. So
Mm,
that's why I think you know best if they describe very well and it really so-called describe you in that sense and you actually
mm.
agree to that. I think you can use that kind of a tool. But
I
always
think
remember it is a
mm,
screening tool.
yeah, I think personality test is great because they throw you questions like, do you like talking to different people in crowds, or how do you manage certain situations? So those questions and your answers will reflect on how you manage and deal with your normal daily routine life and how you function in your workplace or in your studies and with people. So, it's not asking about, trying to predict the future or anything like that. So yeah, I think one of those, yeah, like what Prof say, is a screening thing where we can use it, on yeah, we can say on a surface level. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, so that I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, if I
So
may
and
add also, Felicia,
yeah.
as long as the answers is not true and false, because true and false is a 50-50 chance, people
Ah,
may guess. Another thing is you must always look at the answers respond in a Likert scale. That means from the very true to the very untrue,
one,
then
two, three,
along
four, five, right?
one, two,
Yeah.
three, four, five kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That can be very much better.
Oh, okay.
So basically, they have more question, the better it will become. Example
Mm,
like the big five and the so-called mayor brick,
yeah.
there is about actually, if I'm not mistaken, already about 100 questions.
Yeah, 120
Mm.
questions for the big five. So I just did
Yeah.
my test as well. So yeah, and I already did my Myers-Briggs before. So yeah,
Mhm.
those gave me a really good understanding as well. Okay, next question. Noor from Noor Izwani.
Mhm.
Prof, why are some people are so defensive when we ask some sort of questions that may trigger them? Does it make they are doing it? Maybe you want to rephrase your question because it's not very clear. Maybe does it making that they are doing it?
Yeah, I think is it they do it on purpose or they actually
Maybe that's what
not
she meant.
knowing doing it
Mm,
yourself.
yeah.
I believe this is the thing. People don't like to be threatened their ego.
Mm,
When they feel their ego is threatened, their own ego self kind of a thing, shame, fear, inadequacy. They don't like to be noted to be like that. When so somebody actually say something and they they feel threatened, and that's why the way they respond can be either one. One they can be easily become defensive, or the other one they can easily turn out to become offensive.
mm,
Either they become defensive or they become offensive. So if you know that that is what we call a sensitive issue to actually bring up to that particular person. So if you want to actually really help anyone, the best is actually before you can even reach to that stage, you have to create a relationship of what we call uh, love and care relationship.
mm,
Somebody can take you when they love you so much, they can accept whatever you want to tell them. That's what we call very important about creating a good relationship with people around you. And then on top of that, they know who you are, they know what you meant, they know your actually intention of asking, and once they know, they will not become defensive anymore.
mm,
So create that relationship first
mm,
before you want to go. And even before you can ask, you can always seek permission. Can I try to understand what is going on? If you're willing to tell me, I'm willing to listen. If you're not, it's okay. Maybe there will be some other time. So we are not threatening ourselves towards a person.
yeah. And also it's also our tone of voice, and we may have that sometimes using because of from our frustration or resentment and from our way of asking questions as well. So it's good to also self-reflect,
Yeah.
because it may be out of concern and care, but because it's not being broadcast in a more effective way, and that person may be
Mm,
at a more sensitive point.
yeah.
Yeah, so hence why you don't get that response that you are expecting, or more positive response. Yeah.
When somebody is actually highly stressed, diffuse that stress situation first.
Mm,
Diffuse it first, then make it into calm state. Only then you can dwell into. That's why you can see the Westerners, they are using what we call the time out. When they're angry with their child, they ask them to go to their room, stay in the room, and they also want to clear themselves, not to get angry. So when the child is clear, they also calm. Then they say later we will talk about it.
mm,
That is a very good move actually, and that is what we call mindful. And being mindful, it will get this to this outcome, whereby you are not reacting first, you are actually taking a time out first. So mindfulness will make you become a person who knows how to control your emotion very well. Stay calm, and then you can talk things better.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good. I think having all this discussion will help us to actually remove the stigma of talking about, our personality and possibly, identifying certain triggers and stress or disorders or trauma. So, by having all this conversation, we would hope to achieve like more conversations about it with our family, friends, and our loved ones and co-workers and colleagues, because uh, it is basically to enhance communication and bonding in relationship, so not the other way around, right? So yeah, so if we have more understanding and uh more understanding of each other, I think we make the world a better place to live in. And now with the pandemic,
Um,
everybody's coping it in a different way, so yeah, this will help understand a little bit more.
very, very unfortunate. You cannot leave yourself alone.
Yeah.
You cannot stay away from people. You have to be around people.
Yeah.
So even though in COVID situation you are stuck in the house again, that's when you are stuck with the key personalities, and that key personalities may already actually what we call a bad kind of a baggages that you had before.
Yeah.
It could actually increase the tension and the stress.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are people who subsequently decided to become asocial, to become introvert, hide themselves in a particular place. That's why it is also good sometimes. It's good when you're angry, go to the kitchen and do some cooking. That
Oh,
will
I've
be
been doing
also,
that.
yeah, so you don't react, you just enjoy yourself with the cook. Things like
Mm.
that.
Yeah, definitely. Find different, fill yourself with different activities that can express us. You can express creativity in. You can express certain way. Sometimes you want to be quiet. Sometimes you do meditation. Sometimes you pray. At times you need to talk to a friend. Yeah. So do what helps you to improve your livelihood. Right. Yeah. Yep. So thank you so much. This is really a good session. I think, yeah, maybe we would like to focus on like, maybe we get everybody to do like the big five personality test, or
Yeah.
we can get everybody to do the Myers-Briggs test.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, maybe we can discuss a little bit more about the Myers-Briggs, especially because that is very interesting to see like what career, why we are in certain careers and why those personality drive us to be a certain way in the community.
It's good actually to dwell into it for a while. Maybe we allow for another a week or two, or even
Yeah.
anytime you feel you want to talk about it, we can always revisit this kind of a topic. Because it's all about ourselves, and to improve ourselves is really to know what traits we have and what kind of personality or persona that we are putting ourselves forward. It's
Okay,
very
great.
important. Yeah.
Yep. So thank you so much for the session today. I think everybody who is joining, and stayed until the very end. So we are seeing new faces. So keep on inviting more people to join for our next week session. So as somebody who is in the CMCO area, do not worry so much. It is not like the first one. So as long as you keep straight SOPs, try to make sure that you wear your mask when you're in public area, do your exercise, eat well. Tomorrow, like those who has joined a bit later on, tomorrow, Coach Francis is going to have a 7 a.m. Exercise session at Parang Polo Ipoh, if you're around in Ipoh. So we will be gathering in the near the lake area. So have fun. And yeah, connect to people, talk to a person that you know and you trust. Reach out to Prof Muhammad if you need somebody to talk to. And wish you all safe, and let's see each other next week.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everybody.
Thank
Have a
you.
Thank
good rest. Have a good
you.
weekend.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
All right.
Good
Bye
night.
Bye.
bye. Good night.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Good night.
thank you, coach.
All
Thank
right. Thank
you.
Thank you,
you.
Nicholas.
Really
Okay, thank you, everyone. Bye
Okay.
bye.
Bye. Bye.